Well, if you're wondering why farmers are so concerned about their farm finances right now, they really just can't catch a break. It's not just because corn prices are below break even for most, it's the fact input prices are so high. The US has lost the corn crown. We've been the world's top exporter of corn for just about every single year in history. China halted orders for US soybeans and corn before tariff escalation. A crushing blow. USDA cancels local food purchasing programs that serve Humboldt schools, tribes, seniors, and food bank while supporting ranchers and farmers. Corn prices have plummeted to $3.50 a bushel, sending the entire US corn belt into a tailspin. Over 2 million tons of corn were sent straight back to New Orleans by importers, turning million-dollar contracts into worthless paper overnight. From Iowa to Indiana, combines sit idle because harvesting now means deeper losses. Cracked kernels lie under the rain, like a giant grain dump. While US farmers stare at fresh loans and shattered confidence, Canada quietly plants its flag on a multi-billion-dollar supply pact with Japan, South Korea, and even Europe, staging a silent coup right on the world's dining tables. So why has US corn collapsed so fast since early 2025? While Ottawa calmly seals deals that pour millions into Canadian pockets, today's video will peel back every fracture in America's corn wings and decode how Canada ascended to the grain throne. Hit subscribe to Top 10 America Beyond and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest updates on the stories shaping our nation's future. As we dive deeper into this unfolding challenge for American agriculture, it's clear that the issues run far beyond simple market fluctuations. They touch on everything from global trade shifts to innovative adaptations by our northern neighbors. In this episode of Top 10 America Beyond, we're counting down the top 10 key factors behind the current pressures on US corn farmers, starting from the foundational concerns and building to the most critical ones that could redefine the industry. If you're passionate about understanding America's heartland and its role in feeding the world, make sure to like this video, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to Top 10 America Beyond for more in-depth explorations like this. Your engagement helps us bring these vital stories to light.
Top 10 America Beyond.
Number 10. The rising tide of input costs and lost export dominance. At the heart of farmers' worries is the relentless climb in input prices, from fertilizers to seeds, making it tougher than ever to turn a profit when corn prices hover below break-even levels. Picture this: average 2025 harvest costs in Iowa chew up $165.75 per acre, while spot corn across Midwest scales has plunged to $3.45 a bushel, the lowest since 2016. This isn't just a blip, it's a fundamental shift. For decades, the US held the crown as the world's top corn exporter, but now that's slipping away. China, a massive buyer, halted orders for US soybeans and corn right before trade tensions escalated, dealing a major setback to export volumes. This sudden stoppage left billions in potential revenue on the table, forcing farmers to rethink their strategies overnight. As these foundational pressures mount, the ripple effects are felt across the Corn Belt, where families who farmed for generations now face tough choices about planting and investing. Shifting our focus from these broad market losses, let's examine how specific program cuts are exacerbating the strain on local communities and producers alike. What do you think is the biggest hidden cost in farming today that outsiders might not realize? From my perspective, having followed these stories closely, it's a reminder that resilience in agriculture isn't just about weathering storms. It's about communities coming together to innovate and support one another, ensuring that the backbone of our food system remains strong for future generations. Number 9. USDA program cancellations and plummeting prices. Building on those export challenges, the USDA's decision to cancel local food purchasing programs has added another layer of difficulty. These initiatives once supported Humboldt schools, tribes, seniors, and food banks while bolstering ranchers and farmers. Now, their absence means lost markets right here at home. Corn prices have dropped sharply to $3.50 a bushel, creating widespread uncertainty in the US Corn Belt. Unsold corn stocks held by US farmers have shot to a 6-year high, with the USDA estimating more than 2.5 billion bushels, equal to 68 million tons, still trapped in silos by the end of September. The cash bid in Cedar Rapids this week sits at only $3.74 per bushel for September delivery, widening the divide between costs and returns. This price freefall isn't abstract. It's forcing real adjustments, like Midwest farmers listing John Deere 660 combines on online marketplaces, or taking on extra work to bridge cash flows. Households are even holding back up to 90% of their crops, as selling now would only deepen financial strains. As we connect this to the physical realities on the ground, consider the idle machinery and return shipments that are compounding these issues. How might these program cuts impact your local food supply in unexpected ways? Number 8. Returned cargoes and idle combines across the heartland. The pain from those price drops becomes even more acute when shipments intended for global markets boomerang back home. Over 2 million tons of corn were returned to New Orleans by importers, rendering million-dollar contracts ineffective in a heartbeat. From Iowa to Indiana, combines remain parked because bringing in the harvest would only amplify losses. Cracked kernels scattered under the rain serve as a stark visual of untapped potential. Farmers are grappling with fresh financial obligations and eroded trust in the system, all while watching opportunities slip away. This isn't just about one season. It's a pattern that's disrupting planning for years ahead, with over 180 vessels waiting at anchor in New Orleans, leaving Iowa and Indiana corn vulnerable to spoilage. Farmers lose another $0.27 per bushel simply by waiting for a ship. Transitioning now to how our neighbors to the north are capitalizing on these gaps, it's fascinating to see the contrast in approaches. Have you noticed similar shifts in other industries where one country's challenge becomes another's opportunity? In my view, these moments highlight the value of adaptability by learning from global examples. American farmers can foster sustainable practices that not only preserve their livelihoods but also enrich the soil and communities they cherish. Number 7. Canada's emerging supply pacts and global shifts. While US farmers navigate these hurdles, Canada is quietly securing multi-billion-dollar supply pacts with Japan, South Korea, and Europe, effectively reshaping the global corn landscape. Canadian offers in Manitoba hold steady at $4.20 a bushel, buoyed by a carbon-free premium that commands respect in international markets. This ascension isn't accidental, it's built on strategic moves that align with evolving buyer preferences. Spot corn in the US Midwest, by contrast, has dipped to levels not seen in nearly a decade, underscoring the competitive edge Canada has gained. Global traders are shrugging off US options, citing higher costs, longer tests, and non-compliance with non-GMO clauses, making the switch to the maple leaf a no-brainer for many. Are linking this to the broader impacts of tariffs and logistics, the added expenses are making US exports less appealing. What advantages do you see in Canada's approach that the US could adopt? Number 6. Tariffs impacting shipping and export expenses. The ongoing trade tensions, including proposed tariffs in 2025, are adding layers of complexity to an already strained export landscape, with potential retaliatory measures from partners like China threatening to slash US corn shipments further. Fees on cargo vessels, reaching up to $1.5 million per trip in some cases, have driven Gulf of Mexico shipping costs up by around 25%, inflating overall export expenses by nearly $930 million annually. Trans-Pacific container rates have surged to about $5,000 per FOE in the opening months of 2025, roughly double the stabilized figures from recent years. Meanwhile, barge traffic along the Mississippi has dipped 16% below the 5-year average, with ports in New Orleans facing backups from limited empty containers and heightened documentation demands. Over 180 vessels have been anchored awaiting clearance, allowing corn from states like Iowa and Indiana to sit exposed and degrade, costing farmers an extra $0.27 per bushel in delays alone. As we pivot to those specific fee increases and their ripple effects, it's clear how interconnected these elements are. How do you think these shipping challenges affect everyday items like animal feed or processed foods? Personally, observing this, I believe it teaches us the importance of building efficient, collaborative supply chains, ones that prioritize long-term stability over immediate hurdles, ultimately creating more opportunities for growth and innovation in rural America. Number 5. Escalating pesticide testing fees and certification hurdles. Adding to the tariff burdens, changes in grain inspection fees under the Federal Grain Inspection Service have pushed costs higher, with revisions effective in early 2025, raising multi-residue testing from $57 to $81 per sample, a 40% increase that hits every export batch. Without this certification, shipments face rejection risks even en route, inflating expenses as grain lingers undelivered. The February transportation report underscores the pressure, showing vessels idling longer and supplies accumulating undue wear. In Illinois, the Mississippi waterway has hit record lows for 3 consecutive years, forcing shippers to reduce loads and shorten convoys, tacking on $20 per ton to Gulf-bound trips and causing delays of up to 15 days. This clogs the entire flow, from Iowa silos to Nebraska and Minnesota co-ops, where irrigation caps at 13 inches per acre yearly are compelling halts in purchases to avert overflows. Connecting these operational strains to evolving international standards, the pivot toward cleaner, greener requirements is reshaping buyer demands. What changes in testing or certification do you believe could help US farmers meet these new expectations more efficiently? Number 4. Global import standards pivoting to non-GMO and low-carbon. Buyers worldwide are increasingly prioritizing traceable, eco-conscious grain over sheer quantity. Mexico's February 2025 constitutional amendment solidified a ban on planting GMO corn, prioritizing non-engineered types with minimal carbon footprints, a policy echoed by feed operations in Asia and Europe. With 92% of US fields planted in GMO varieties, this exclusion from preferred lists has opened doors for Canada, leveraging its Prairie Trace system to secure billion-dollar agreements with Japan, South Korea, and the EU. The fallout is evident. US spot prices hover at $3.45 a bushel, the lowest since 2016. Contrasted by Canada's $4.20 a bushel in Manitoba, boosted by a 20% green premium. Traders favor the assurance, redrawing trade flows at docks, where US loads stack up projected, while Canadian ones command higher values for their sustainable credentials. Transitioning to the economic repercussions in key US states, these standards are intensifying local struggles. How might embracing similar traceability benefit American agriculture in the long haul? From where I sit, this underscores the profound value of sustainability. When we invest in eco-friendly methods, we're not just complying. We're securing a healthier planet and more prosperous farms for our families and beyond. Number 3. Economic contraction and community strains in the Corn Belt. In Indiana, the economy has contracted by 6.1% in Q1 2025, the second steepest nationwide, with food aid applications flooding rural counties, up by half from last year. Proposals threaten to reduce essential meal support by 133 million equivalents, heightening vulnerabilities. Crossing into Nebraska and Minnesota, dubbed the Underground Corn Vault, co-ops are pausing buys to avoid bursting bins, leading to vanished grain traffic on Highway 6 and quieter towns with spots closing early. The local scene feels like a slowdown in vitality, with stores operational but flows reduced. The ethanol sector adds to this, with Midwest run rates at 87.8%, 25 plants idle 1.26 billion gallons of capacity, and shifts cut in places like Columbus, Nebraska, affecting 120 workers. As we explore Canada's methodical strategies, the differences in support and innovation become evident. What local initiatives in your community are helping farmers during tough times? Number 2, Canada's blockchain and premium positioning successes. Canada isn't just adapting, they're leading with blockchain tracking from seed to terminal, minimizing risks and building importer confidence. A Farmert report shows North American exporters treating it as default, with Canada deepest through co-ops in Ontario and Saskatchewan. They enforce 3 no's, no GMO, no glyphosate, and emissions below the EU's RED II threshold via a unified disclosure platform that clears customs 20 days faster than US grain. Payoffs are tangible. June 2025 reports from Grain Farmers of Ontario show old crop bases 1.30 to 1.87 USD above futures, a 22 to 30% premium. New crop fetching an extra $1.49 per bushel, at least 18% over Chicago. The March 2025 organic equivalency with South Korea flung doors open, locking 5-year packages weeks after. Saskatchewan leverages a weaker loonie in trade dynamics to sell to Japan and the Netherlands, with fall contracts 18% over benchmarks. Linking to broader risks and potential paths forward, Canada's safety net via EDC, offering single lot insurance and 50% logistics reimbursements, emboldens higher standards. How could the US implement similar traceability to regain market edge? In reflecting on this, I find it inspiring that true progress comes from embracing change thoughtfully by prioritizing quality and transparency. And we can cultivate not only better crops but also stronger global relationships that benefit everyone involved. Number 1. Looming risks across the agri-chain and adaptive choices ahead. At the pinnacle of these challenges, the crisis threatens to spill into soybeans, 92% GMO and already off Europe's low-carbon lists, then dairy and beef, where feed costs rise and competitiveness wanes against net zero pledges from rivals like Canada and Australia by 2030. Small farms face mounting pressures reminiscent of past cycles, with feed costs climbing and markets tightening. Yet options exist, easing barriers on green equipment, adopting blockchain traceability, and aligning carbon rules with partners could rebuild trust, though it demands commitment. Alternatively, maintaining current paths risks ceding share to innovative leaders. The domino effect is evident. US grain ships loading down 14% in the Gulf, bookings off 17%, as importers pivot to Vancouver's efficient rails. Capital and contracts tilt north, where perks avoid rejections and pocket premiums. What steps do you think Washington should prioritize to support farmers in this evolving landscape? As we conclude this countdown on Top 10 America Beyond, remember that awareness is the first step toward positive change. If this episode opened your eyes to the dynamics in American agriculture, hit that like button, share your insights in the comments, and subscribe to Top 10 America Beyond for more compelling content that goes beyond the ordinary. Your voice matters in these conversations. Finally, from my heartfelt perspective, this entire exploration reminds us that the heart of America lies in its people and land, by uniting around shared values of innovation and stewardship. And we can navigate these challenges to emerge stronger, ensuring abundant futures for all who depend on our bountiful fields.